We want people to know things, but we aren't creating any content that showcases that aspect of our personality we want people to know. All right, so you got somebody who is constantly upset or frustrated or having a disagreement or putting out controversial content. And then you see them in the streets, they're like, I don't know why people think I'm mad all the time. Like, I don't get it. Like, I don't know where they get that from. And it's like, you've separated yourself from the content that you're using across your platforms. And so it's an important question to ask when it comes to you or when it comes to your business, what is it that you want to be known for so that we can think about content that will reflect that. How are we looking, Reggie? Good to go? I'm buying Reggie some time. You are a part of my creative process for building out our self-help platforms. So we will take this content, we will turn it into sections, and then people will be able to subscribe, go in, and kind of do it at their own pace once we complete this video. So that's why you see all this equipment, and we're making sure we document everything. Okay, so we're gonna, is that, you can turn it off, Brooke. The candles and the lighting and usually soft music is really how I get into my creative process. So I try to bring my process into Bamboo. So if you're wondering, that's what this is all about. So the first thing I do, I literally take it back to like elementary school, middle school, high school, when the teachers would have you draw a circle in the middle of the page, and then whatever we're about to create a strategy for, that's gonna be what you're gonna put in the middle of your circle. So right now, I'm building out a strategy for my personal brand. One thing I like to think about before I think about my brand is a couple things. One, what do I have on my calendar for the course of the year that are dates that are going to happen for sure? Like things that I feel are important throughout the course of the year that I know for sure is going to happen. I like to have an idea of what those events are. So for me, I have Branding for Beginners. I have Creator Con. I have the Yellow Room. And I have my creator camps. So these are 4 things that I know for 100% fact I'm going to do, and I write them down because as I think about my year, I want my events to somewhat coordinate with the content that I'm pumping out so that it all aligns to the best of my ability. I can make it all align to the best of my ability. Okay? The other thing, you guys can find a seat anywhere. It don't matter. It's a couple seats over here. If we need to get more chairs, it's chairs in front of this table if we need to pull those out also. So after you figured out your events, the next thing I like to think about is, where does my revenue streams come from? Because revenue is really the reason we're all here, right? We're all ultimately trying to figure out how we're going to monetize, how we're going to drive revenue, right? So you want to know what your revenue centers are. I like to go 3 deep. Now you might have 5, you might have 7, you might have 8, you might have 1 or 2. if you have 5 or 6 and you have like 1 or 2 that is like really your main revenue centers, then you got a couple that you kind of do, you know, it's more of a hobby or you don't really take it serious. You make money, cool. If you don't, cool. I wouldn't put those. We want your main revenue centers that you know for a fact you want to drive awareness around. Okay, so for me, I'm going to put my main revenue center in the middle, and that's my social media agency, RCA. All right, my next personal revenue center is events. And then my third revenue center is speaking. Now, when you see me on social, you always hear me say I'm not a speaker. I just get on stages and share my life experiences, right? But I understand that that's a major opportunity when it comes to driving revenue. And I also understand that there's an evolution process that needs to happen. People don't consider you an expert at what you do until you consider yourself an expert, right? But I understand the power of branding, and I understand people like to see a story of come up. They like to see your growth, and they like to follow your journey, right? So as I'm spitting out content that basically says, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just getting up in front of people and I'm just talking. That feels relatable because a lot of times you'll get thrown in front of your team members or you'll get thrown in front of a client. You'll get thrown on a stage that could look like this, that's not an actual stage, and you're asked to share your story or share your experiences. I just became relatable to you because you understand, hey, I'm not trying to be a speaker, but I don't mind sharing experiences that's going to help the people in the room, right? So that's the relatability that I attempt to create when I say I'm not a speaker. I'm just showing you what I've done for the last 15, 16 years with hope that it'll help you with what you're trying to do, basically. All right, so speaking, RCA, and events. You'll see as I build this up, it's always 3-pronged. Like I don't go beyond 3-pronged because I feel like after you get beyond 3, it starts to get very confusing. Now you're spreading yourself thin, you're doing a little bit too much. All right, so I try to keep it at 3 things. All right, for the sake of time, I'm going to break down my strategy for RCA, but the strategy for RCA will work for any of these bubbles. So if you have 5 bubbles, if you have 2, if you have 1, you're going to take this same strategy and then you're going to apply it to whatever bubble you have. Now remember, you're going to need the same amount of time and energy for every one if you want it to really be successful. So I highly recommend, even if you have 5, you bust it down to 3. That's like your 3 main things instead of trying to do this for so many different things. Unless you have a big team that can help you facilitate. All right, so for RCA, I want to understand who it is that I'm speaking to. We kind of talked about that earlier. Who is my ideal client? When I think about going after business, or when I think about the business that I've had, the success that I've had, who have been the individuals that have responded to my message the most? Now, when I first started, we had 2 avatars. One avatar name was Rachel, and the other avatar's name was Kevin. Rachel was the established 35 to 45-year-old business owner who was running an extremely successful company, but she was trying to do it alone, or she was trying to do it with a very small team, and she wanted to outsource her marketing to someone else. She has a family, she has kids, she has a husband, potentially. She doesn't have time to worry about her social media, but she understands how important it is and the fact that she needs it. And so she needs to hire someone that she can trust, someone that she feels understands her plight where she is and someone that can relate to her in different ways. And so when I would create content over the last several years, we created the content like we were talking to Rachel. Like, this is Rachel. And Rachel, I know you have to go shopping. I know you have to care for the kids. I know you have people coming at you left and right with different questions. But we have an answer for you. How about hiring a company who can do all your content for you? A company who can understand your voice, understand your challenges, and create a voice that sounds like yours across your platforms. Also, we will bring out our content creators to get the content. We will come to your office. Like, I'm saying all the things that Rachel want to hear, right? And so when she looks at my content, now, I'm not talking to Rachel. This is the caption of the post. This is what's being said in the videos, right? So when you fit the description of Rachel and you're reading this caption, you're reading it like, wow, I feel like this was made for me. And that's what you want your ideal client to feel like. Content should attract your client, right? Your content is your attraction tool. Everybody's not your client. And a lot of us get discouraged because a lot of times we put content out there and we just want everybody to respond to it. We want everybody to like our stuff, interact with it. But if it's not the person that the content is meant for, do we really care if they interact with the content or not? So that means if 5 people like your posts, right, and 1 person or 2 people comment on it, and 1 person inbox you, and that person is ready to buy from you, you don't need any more people. Like, the post won. Like, that's success. If you have 5,000 people like your posts and 200 people comment and nobody DMs you and nobody buys anything, which situation do you prefer? You know what I'm saying? Like, the vanity metrics that we get caught up in will make us give up on our business. Like, it drives people away from doing the thing that they love because they're just not getting the reaction that they feel that they should get or we feel we should get. When in all actuality, the better conversion is in the 1 person that DM'd and only 5 people liked the post, right? So try is not easy. I understand it's not easy, and we're dealing with a lot of different factors when it comes to algorithms and consistency and the platform that you're on and all these different elements that may impact the interaction that happens. But the reality is consistency and creating content that speaks to a specific individual, like, those are the keys. Now, if your content is just, I'll ask you a question in a second. If your content is for everybody, then what I just said doesn't apply. If you didn't go through a strategic path to design content that speaks to a specific individual, then now what I just said doesn't really apply because you're talking to everybody, so it's not meant for anybody. But if you know who you're talking to and you know the content has been designed and your data over the last year, 6 months, however long you've been doing this, has told you that this type of individual responds best to your stuff, then you're on the right path, and now it's just straight and steady. Consistency every single day, and then slowly let your audience grow, nurture that audience with value and education until that person decides, I've seen enough, I'm ready to do business with this individual. Okay.
So my question is, when you said that, what is it, Rachel and Kevin, I always hear about the client avatar, and you need to know this, and that about him. Like, I need to be able to describe Robert as my client.
Correct.
And really, I don't know who Robert is in my head. Like, how do you get that specific? Like, for instance, everybody in business wants their ideal client to be a person with a budget or a person that's spending money, but then, like,
it's the wrong North Star. I guess the wrong starting point. money, the only factor revenue should play is an additional detail into your overall picture of who your person is.
So what was your mind? Can you explain
Yes.
a little more about how you got to the details of Rachel and Kevin? Because that's where I always get caught up.
Yeah, so you've been in business already for a couple years, right? So let's think about your last 5 to 10 clients, right? What do they look like? Is it mostly men? Is it mostly women? Are they business owners? Are they stay-at-home moms? Like, describe your last 5 to 10 clients. Can you think of any similarities about the last 5 to 10 people that's done business with you?
Yes. So they.
Let's go with the last 3. The last person that did business with you, was it a man or a woman?
It was a man.
Okay, stop there. The person before that, was it a man or a woman?
A man.
Okay, the person before that, was it a man or a woman?
I feel like it was a man too.
Okay, all right. So we're already on to something, right? Okay. What was the age range of these last three men that's done business with you? What was the youngest age? What was the oldest age?
30.
Okay, 30. Okay, so 30 to 50-year-old men. Were they all Michigan based?
Yes.
Okay, 30 to 50-year-old Michigan based. Were they business owners, entrepreneurs? Did they work 9 to 5 corporate jobs?
2 were in corporate.
Oh, that's good percentages.
2 were.
We're, okay, so do you understand where I'm going?
Yeah.
You're taking the data. You're not making this up.
Yeah.
You're taking the data from what you've already been successful with, and you're breaking down that information to come to the conclusion of what your ideal client looks like. It's not a perfect science. So because Rachel is my ideal client, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to attract people that's all different ages and different walks of life. It just means that I have a starting point for creating content. Now, if somebody else feels that I'm speaking to them, like, that's perfectly fine. We're taking all the money. Like, we're not turning anything down, but it's just when it comes to the basis of the content you create, the more of a visual that you can have in your mind as to who that person is and what they will relate to, the easier it's going to be for you to create the content that's going to have the most value. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and
Okay.
I kind of understood that because it's one client that's like, I want to clone him.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. But it doesn't have to stop there. So I told you we have two avatars. Rachel, and then I have Kevin. Mm-hmm. Now Kevin is a young aspiring entrepreneur, typically a guy who is basically a younger version of myself. Like, he is the younger me. And he is looking for mentors. He's looking for guidance. He wants somebody that'll take him under their wing and provide information and value to help them get to the next level, basically. Exactly. And what you will find is that a lot of the avatar and a lot of what you're trying to build, you're usually talking to a version of yourself. Yeah. Right? It's like you're providing the content that you wish you had or you wish somebody would have gave to you after you've reached a certain point. At every point in your business, you're going to always, this will never change. At every point in your business, you're going to always have somebody that's behind you, meaning you're reaching back to pull them along, give them information, give them value. You're going to have somebody that's beside you, somebody that you can share information with and trade secrets and things like that. And you're going to have somebody that you're striving to be. You're going to have goals, somebody that's motivating you to keep going, right? At every single point, right? And so as you create content, you're always thinking about that. Social media framework it may change, but for the last 15 years, it's been the same. It's inspiration, education, and entertainment. Like, that's it. Right? So as you're thinking about what your content looks like, one of those elements should be your foundational piece, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But your content should be driven by one of those three prongs. Yeah.
Can you just repeat those real quick?
Yeah, education, entertainment, and inspiration. And like I said, we'll touch on that a little bit more. Yes.
One real quick along the line. So like, if your ideal client is actually a child, but the ones who are actually buying for them are parents.
You're speaking to the
Sometimes
parents.
it's the parents that are buying, like, oh, my kid would like this.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's, mom, I want you to take me to buy this.
Yep.
So how do we? I'm struggling personally with like.
I think you have two avatars.
Huh?
It's two avatars.
Two separate
avatars.
Okay.
So you're creating content for the parent and you're creating content for the kid.
Okay.
Yep. And when you think about it like that, it'll probably get a lot easier to break that down as opposed to trying to make content that fits both buckets. All right. Yes.
When you say inspiration, education, and entertainment, we were recently at a seminar when somebody said, take into consideration, would you share this? How important do you, like, do I want yes, I want my clients to share the information, but that's not as important as it being inspiring, educational, and entertaining?
No, I think you got to check both boxes.
Okay.
I think there's levels, right? So if you're asking me, when it comes to content, like, can you prioritize the way you think about it? And at the top of the priority is consistency. I feel like just posting anything every day will probably result in some activity, some conversion, some sales, right? The next thing is understanding some of the framework around how content works, which is inspiration, entertainment, and education. The next level would probably be creating shareable, relatable content. So you can start checking all these boxes, you start tapping into more viral content, you start seeing more interaction, more traction, more engagement. Being shareable and being relatable, like, if your content is relatable, people share it. But the secret sauce behind that is removing yourself, which when you're building a personal brand becomes really tough, right? So like, this is like Jedi social media strategy, right? Like, how do I build my personal brand and remove myself out of the content so that it's relatable and shareable for anybody that sees it? And when you tap into a formula that you can accomplish that, you win the social media game. Like, that's when your content starts going bananas. And there's a lot of people that figure it out. Like, you'll hear a lot of motivational speakers. There's a speaker that just kind of started rolling. His name is George. You guys seen George yet? DM me later, I will get you his actual link. Like, I'm just seeing this guy, right? And all he does is sit at a table and talks to himself. Like, he is having an inspirational conversation to fire himself up. You seen this guy yet? Yes. Talk that talk, George. And he's literally just hyping himself up. But the content is so powerful and it radiates and crosses so many different boundaries that it is relatable to anybody that hear it. Right? So he's going to win the game because he got the formula. He's pushing his personal brand. He's motivating and inspiring anybody that listens to it, and he's using the platform that's super popular. Like, he's going to win. So like, that's an example of checking all the boxes, and it's not easy. Like, it's not easy at all. But when you tap into it, the magic starts to happen. Okay, all right, so back to this. So for me, I have Rachel, Kevin, right? And as of the last year and a half or so, a new avatar has entered the picture for us. And his name is Jim. Jim is the owner, president, founder of a large corporation, multi-million-dollar organization where he's not even involved in the marketing. He hires a marketing director to go out and seek agencies and firms to provide social media and marketing and strategy for him. He's sometimes interested in coaching because he thinks about his personal brand and how important personal brands is to organizations nowadays. But for the most part, he's behind the scenes, and Jim just wants to feel good about the person he hires. He wants to feel that I connect with him on some level, right? So he's the owner that has 80 people on his Instagram. Like, he's a multi-millionaire, but he doesn't do social media. He hires people to do social media if he decided to do it. And so we've been dealing with a lot of Jims lately. And so this is now what our 3 client avatars look like, and it's the starting point for all of our content. It will be the starting point for our content this year specifically. Okay. Any other questions so far before we move to the next step? Everybody's good? Okay. So the next step on here is thinking about the pain points of the avatar that you created, right? So what are some of the problems that I feel my agency can help or provide solutions for our avatars, right? So for me, I'll start with Jim, and let's just say, what's an example? I jotted down some notes here. All right, so I put Jim runs a major organization, does at least $1 million in revenue, and struggles to find a team he can trust. So, as a starting point, you want to identify your avatar and then think about the pain points that your avatar is having in their business. So if you're, what are some of your businesses? Let me just get an idea of what our businesses are. What business do you have?
Children's clothing store.
Children's clothing store. Entertainment company. Mortgage. Real estate. Consulting. I know what you do. Production. Fitness. Okay.
I have 2. I'm in construction and in spiritual or like, I don't know, metaphysical.
Okay.
Photo booth,
Events.
brand and web design.
Nice. Your industry? Resale boutique. Entertainment. Real estate. Auto care. Catering. Clothing. Fashion. Rapping. Car wrapping. Realty. Home inspector. Fashion. Restaurant. Car sales. Photography. Marketing. Real estate. So does anybody not understand the pain point part? I feel like everybody from all the industries, the pain point should be pretty easy. All right, so you want to think about, I would think about at least 3 pain points that your avatar is dealing with as you start to think about the content and the value and how you're going to solve the problems or the pain points of your ideal customer. Okay, so this is the ideation process. Like this is how you get in the frame of mind of understanding your voice, your message, the value that your company is going to add to whoever your client is. Anybody need to take a picture of this, or you guys good? Everybody got it?
I have a question.
Yes.
What do that middle bubble say? RCA?
RCA Social Company. I just put it's just RCA, Robert Courtney and Associates. I'm sorry for my scribble.
No, it's actually pretty
Okay. All right, I'm erasing this.
So are the avatars supposed to like represent your clients, or are they actually avatars you created that handle each? I'm kind of confused about that.
Okay, so the avatar is depending on what your company does. Your avatar is either the individual that you want to follow your brand, so that could be your avatar, or it's the person that you want to actually purchase your service. What'd you say you did again? Restaurant. So your avatar is going to be more than likely the person that's coming in to eat your food, right? Like you're going to look at your customer base, and you're going to say, I have all teenagers coming in here all the time. Like 60% of my clientele is teenagers. So that's your avatar. Or it could be families, it could be couples. You know, like you want to think about, try to really get an idea of where the majority of your revenue is coming from, and then kind of work backwards from that point. But then your avatar could also be, it could be like caterers, right? Or like event planners could be your avatar. So like if someone is hosting a big event and they want to use a restaurant to provide the food, then you might want to be considered for that. So now that's a separate avatar than the avatar that you're creating for the person that's walking in through the front door. Does that make sense? Okay.
Hey, Rob, I have a question.
Yes.
So what if you got like this avatar in your mind and you start going through the calculations and then that gives you a different type of avatar? Do you run from what your avatar is giving you because you thought this was your focus?
No,
Continue
that's
there
such a great question.
and build whatever this avatar should look like.
Such a great question. I've been laser focused on Rachel for so long. It was like I was missing Jim. Like I wasn't giving Jim the attention that he needed. Jim is a much better avatar than Rachel, but I became so comfortable with Rachel. I know Rachel so well, I don't want to get to know Jim. You understand what I'm saying? But my growth is in Jim. Me getting uncomfortable and going through that phase of learning Jim is how my company is going to grow. So I feel like it happens all the time where sometimes we have to pivot because we think our avatar is one thing or our ideal client is one thing, but really it's something different, or we've grown, or our services have outgrown our original avatar and now we can do better, or it's a better use of our time. Like there's a lot of factors like that. My price point with Jim is much higher than my price point with Rachel. Jim can afford things that Rachel can't. They both want the same thing, but Jim is a lot less aggressive. He's not pressed. He want to do business for a year or for 24 months. Rachel want to do business month to month or in 3-month increments. Like they're in different places, and so things mean different. You know, like they handle things differently. But yes, like if it makes sense and all your data points to a new avatar, then by all means you gotta decide whether you want to do the work to switch it. Yeah. Did I see another hand? Everybody good? Okay, so now we're going to get into the planning part, like simplifying the planning process for creating content. And this is going to be very different for different industries. So I'm going to do a couple different industries to kind of give you guys an idea of how this might work for you. So if you're in real estate, let's just say hypothetically, and we actually, with our team, I don't know if you guys know, but Shadi is our photographer. Brooke is one of our content editors. Lana helps us out with accounts. We did some testing, I guess you can say, with our framework, and we practiced on Brooke because she does real estate, and I knew a lot of people here would be in the real estate business, right? So I didn't bring your blueprint, but the focus was buyers, right?
We were doing more like high-scale sellers.
High-end sellers. Yeah. So her avatar was a high-end seller, right? So we'll just use hers for the sake of time. You said high-end sellers, right?
Yeah.
High-end sellers. Okay, so for high-end sellers, we created we created 12 questions that a high-end seller would have, or 12 problems or challenges that a high-end seller would have. Do you remember one or two?
Yeah, what is the value of my home?
Okay, so that's a good one. So here's a question that a high-end seller would have. What is the value of my home? Can anybody not think of a question or a challenge that their ideal client would have? Everybody good? Okay, so you want to think about around 12 questions or challenges that your ideal person would have, and then you want to list those 12. Okay, so we're not going to go through all 12 for the sake of time, but this is your starting point. Your 12 questions or challenges this is what I'm going to do, you can work this a little different. Your 12 questions or challenges could represent each month of the year, right? So this would be my January theme. What is the value of my home? Now, after you come up with the question, this is pain point questions, challenges, all the same thing. This is now just giving you a simplified method for creating content that you can put on autopilot and not have to worry about it. Now, the next part is the coolest part. If you go to Google, everybody pull out their phone real quick. Go to Google, and whatever your question is, you might need to include your industry, but type in the question or the challenge that you just came up with, your number one challenge for January. All right, so this is going to be, what is the value of my home? We're typing this in the search engine on Google. And then hit the enter button. Everybody doing it? Okay, now if you scroll down, you're going to get to a part where it says, people also ask. Is everybody there?
Yeah.
You see people also ask? Okay, if you go into people also ask, this is Google. So this is millions and millions and millions of people typing in the same stuff, and then the algorithm creating the questions that come from your client, the things that they also wonder about. You don't even have to figure it out. Like, you have it, like right here. Right? So your client who you know for a fact is wondering about the value of their home, Google is telling you what they also wonder about. Right? So you go into that people may ask, and now you can pick four more questions or challenges from your people also ask list. Right? So now you go here, and you create 4 more questions. What do you guys think that is?
4 weeks of content.
4 weeks of content. You have a topic for every week, and you have an overarching theme happening for the entire month, right?
That's sweet.
Don't you just feel like a lift just? Don't you feel like pressure just raising off of your body?
So let me just run it back, kind of walk it back.
Yep.
Just for my understanding and clarity. The first question that I'm asking, that's the question that I'm going to answer first.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And then from there, I'm going to Google. It's going to give me more questions.
You're not going to answer the question. You're going to type that question into Google.
What I mean by answer, I mean as far as like content.
Yes.
Okay, and then go to Google. It's going to give me other four questions that I can answer.
Correct.
In my joint.
Correct. That's it. Now, the interesting, this gives us clarity in our mind, which the struggle for content is a lot of times it's just coming up with the ideas, right? It's like just, you don't want to just post anything. You want the content to have some type of connectivity or flow, or you want the voice and the message to kind of feel the same. So this does that for us. What's important before we get to this point is you understanding what your best style of communication is in order of best to worst, right? So what are some options when it comes to creating content?
Video.
We can do video, we can do photography like pictures, we can do carousels, we can be graphic design heavy, right? Like there's a lot of ways to communicate content. But if you aren't a graphic designer, it might not make sense for you to be graphic design heavy. If you don't talk well in front of the camera, it might not make sense for you to be video heavy, right? So you need to think about like, what is my style of communication that comes comfortable, that comes natural, that's the easiest, and none of them may be easy. But what you're trying to do is you're gonna rank them in order of what's most comfortable for you. For me, writing is my best skill. That's my skill set. Like I attract and then get the most engagement when I take my time and write out my thoughts, emotions, feelings, right? I know that, right? So writing would be first, and then video would probably be second, and then pictures would probably be third for me personally. So that's what you want to do, right? And then you want to say, what is the platform that I'm most comfortable on, that I feel most comfortable on, where I can be the most vulnerable, where I can share the most content?
But also with your avatar, which platform are they most comfortable with?
Great question. Okay.
Know where the people hang out, right?
Actually, no.
No?
So this is the levels that we talk about. I feel like the place where you're the most comfortable and most vulnerable will become the platform that attracts the most people to you. Right? So if TikTok is the popular platform, but you have no clue how to use it, you don't want to do the things you think work there, like it's probably not going to be a good fit for you. Right? So you want to be in the place where you can be the most yourself, the most authentic, and I would start the building process there. Now, I want you to be on all the platforms. If we're talking about just strategy in general, I truly believe that you should have presentation on at least 5 platforms. And when I say presentation, that means that you should have a profile built out. You should have a quality cover photo. All of your bio and your caption or your information should be filled out. Things like that on at least 5 different platforms. Where you spend your time and you create consistent activity, like that's a different thing. Your platforms are now your websites. People are going to check your Facebook, your Instagram, your YouTube, your TikTok, and your LinkedIn, and then go to your website. They're going to play on your platforms before they go to your website. And so you want to treat your platforms that you can't be active on every day, you want to treat those like websites. So you want to have a post pinned to the top that really speaks to your brand or who you are or whatever it is that you want people to know about you. You want to have that post pinned to the top. And then however often you can go on the platform, you will. Now, with this strategy, it should get really simple, right? Because if you're using a third party tool to do your posting for you, then this strategy is going to kill it. Right now, if you posting manually, I'll answer you in 1 second. If you're posting manually, you got to get your game up. But at least Facebook gives you a built-in tool. Like you have Facebook Business Suite. So you should at least, at the very minimum, be posting on Instagram and Facebook simultaneously. And then the other ones, you know, you can post manually. If you're posting through Instagram, you have Twitter, you have Tumblr. A lot of people don't use Tumblr anymore. But you do have the built-in tool on Instagram to do a couple different platforms. What was the question?
Before we get too far from that, let's say your business is your clothing brand and same avatar, high-end sellers. Can you just give me like an off-the-wall question just that get me thinking?
Okay, so high-end seller, so a person who buys high-end fashion.
Yeah.
So you could say, what type of material does a person that wears luxury clothes want? You know, something along those lines. Do you have consistent customers?
Not on social media.
Do you have an idea of what you want your customer to look like?
No, I don't.
Or then, so now, see, the stuff I erased, that's for you. See, like this doesn't work unless you figure that stuff out.
So what I do is like when I'm in my vendors or I'm out at different engagements where I'm actually engaging with the customers.
Yep.
Like, man, my table has a line a mile long and I sell everything. And I understand what you're saying. This is the next level. So what you're doing is what everybody does. You're hustling. You're like, oh, you want to sell? Cool. Oh, you want to sell? Cool. Oh, you want to sell? Cool. But we can't move like that because that's not scalable. Yeah, you're right.
Right? Like, only person can do that business is you. Right. You can't hire somebody and teach them your business. You move it on instinct. Like, you just go on where the money is, right?
Right.
This is designed to create your system so that you can duplicate your system, and now you can scale and you can grow your operation, right? So if you can pinpoint where the majority of your opportunities are coming from, break that individual down, create that avatar, now you can bring in somebody and say, your job is to identify 20 to 25-year-olds who live in the Metro Detroit area. You see what I'm saying? And now that person has no problem with doing that because you just gave them a plan. Like, they know exactly what to do. But you can't tell them, look, just go into the flea market and then just like look, and like you can't describe what you do to a person the way you do it.
100%.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
Yep. So the first part is where you definitely need to, like, I would put a couple hours into really looking through my past success. Like, you want to look at, like, think about your last however many years you've been in business, and then really try to think about, like, who is the person that I know for sure is going to buy my product. You know, and that person, like, when you start thinking about it, I'm pretty sure, like, a visual kind of comes to mind. Like, if you're out at, let's just say you're at Eastern Market, and you got a pop-up shop at Eastern Market, and a dude comes up to you and starts talking to you, and you've never seen him before, and he dap you up, and he's like, you know, he start having a conversation with you. You get that feeling like, I can connect with this person. Like, I know he like basketball. Like, I know he like music. Like, I know he into rap. Like, I know he into hip hop. I know he into going to the barbershop and getting his beard lined up. Like little things that you subconsciously identify about your ideal customer. Like when I was a barber, I would sit in my chair, and when a person walked through the door, like I would like literally like start the timer like in my head. It's like I got about 30 seconds to size this guy up. Like, does he like music? Is he into shoes? Like whatever. By the time you get to my seat, I need to be able to spark a conversation, get into some decent back and forth with him. Yeah, some decent dialogue, because if I can do that, I know I can win him over as a customer. I don't care about that. He don't care about the haircut. He does, but if our conversation is dope, he's coming back regardless. You see what I'm saying? So you're trying to establish the person that you know for a fact will be interested in what you have to offer, and then once you establish that, now you're going to break that person down and try to create the main kind of like key factors of that individual so that you can duplicate the process and build out your content more importantly. Got it? Okay. Any other questions? All right, so theme of the month, go to Google, get you 4 more questions that fall in line with this theme, decide on your communication style, decide on the platform that you kind of want to be the lead platform, excuse me, and then go from there. For me, I use Instagram as the platform that I kind of base my strategies on. Okay, so this is the Instagram grid. These 12, I did 9, should have did 12. These 12 boxes is usually what I kind of base my my aesthetic on. Like this is like my website hero image, basically. When someone comes to my Instagram page, when they scroll down those 4 lines or 12 blocks, you should be able to get a pretty good idea of who I am, what I do, the value I bring. It should be interesting enough to where you decide to click on a photo or two. And by reading a couple captions, you should have a clear picture in your head of who I am and what I have to offer. I personally like to build my Instagram out. I don't do this for clients. Like, you're getting the inside look. I don't, like, when it comes to clients need things simplified. Like, they need to be able to see it on like a 7th grade level. Okay? For me personally, I think about these columns as like highways. So this is education, this is inspiration, and then this is entertainment. And this is how I try to create variety with my content. So I'm always thinking, all right, I'm gonna do something that's educational, like something that brings value. It could be tips, it could be something that I read in a book, information that's going to help the person that's reading that particular post. And then I always do the inspirational stuff, right? Like mixing those three things up is kind of what I always try to subconsciously keep in the back of my mind. And Instagram, because it's already laid out in this grid type of style, I just feel like it's really easy to create your plan based on this grid. Okay, so you create your 12 topics and you create 4 topics a week. You have all this content. Let's just pretend we've done all of this content and we've done all of our subcategories in our 4 weeks, right? Now, all you have to do is come back to this grid and then literally start filling the stuff in, right? You put your education content in education, your inspiration content in the inspiration box, and your entertainment content if you have it inside of this. Now, it doesn't have to be all 3. Remember, this is my strategy, right? So I'm going to take this content and I'm going to come up with a creative way to make it entertaining. I'm going to come up with a creative way to make the content inspirational. But this is giving me my starting point for doing so. To be entertaining or to be inspirational is not always about what the content is. It's usually about the delivery. It's about the presentation, right? So I can be giving you education, but I can be giving it to you while I'm dancing, right? So I just took an educational piece of content and I just made it entertaining, right? So it's a lot of times about how you present the content that puts it into an entertainment box, an inspirational box, or simply an educational box. So this is how I diversify the content, I guess you can say, and I mix it up using this as kind of like my framework for not doing the same thing over and over and over again, right? So that's my strategy. A lot of people only do educational content. Their platforms is strictly education. It's a super simple strategy and it works. It's very successful. A lot of people only do entertaining content. Like it's just joke after skit after prank, and it wins. So I'm saying that to say there's no right or wrong way on how you present the content. It's just figuring out the system that works best for you. I want to be a little bit of it all. I'm the least entertaining, right? But I'm heavy on the education and I'm heavy on the inspiration. Like my brand is very much built on inspiration and education. Yes.
So because you have your own obviously your own personality.
Right.
And your own person, and then you have your kind of businesses that are out from there. Do you use your personal brand to kind of touch into each of those and then create a whole separate system for each of those businesses?
No, I don't. But if you have the bandwidth, you could. So for me,
Employees, I guess I have.
Yeah.
Like make these employees do this stuff over here, and those employees there do this stuff here, and then
Yeah.
I do separate things in the middle that kind of brings them together.
Yep. So that goes back to what we started with when we talked about the revenue centers,
Okay.
right? So you have to identify what your revenue centers are and what you want to build momentum, what you want to market, what you feel is important. The revenue center that I'm talking about right here is just RCA. And what I use to push RCA is Robert Courtney's personal brand. My personal brand is responsible for generating buzz and awareness for RCA. Does that make sense? Now, if we're talking about events, then that's going to look a little bit different. But for RCA, it's me. Right?
So each of those will look different.
Correct.
Those three components should be this 3 times over.
Correct. That's why I say you duplicate it. Yes. But it's important to know what you're capable of doing because you can easily spread yourself thin. If you don't have a team or the time to manage multiple platforms and to build them out in this way, then your expectation for success through social media for those other things can't be there because you're not giving it the attention that you're giving your main thing. Makes sense. And you can apply other strategies, like you can have ads running, right, for something that you might not build out a full social media content strategy. You could use a volume play or a numbers play and just push it out with consistent ad dollars being put into Instagram or Facebook to drive the activity that you're looking for. But this is a content strategy. And so from a content strategy standpoint, it requires like a little bit more detailed strategy behind it. Yes?
I wanted to ask you about like the personal branding focus of it all. So for me personally, I do branding, I do web design, but I also just got a full-time job. So I'm moving away from offering my services because I don't want to sell more of my time, and I am moving more into products, creating
Like courses and
like website templates that you can download and do it yourself.
Yep.
So I'm pushing the DIY for I'm not looking to sell a product as me, Desi M. Slaughter, but I do push that my focus topics are personal branding and digital transformation. I want to help you build your personal brand through digital transformation.
Okay.
So I'm doing more blogging and things now, blogging, social media, digital content, rather than offering my services. But that's not something that I'm blackballing. If I will talk about it because I'm talking about branding.
Right.
How do I think about or position my content in a way that I'm not talking to you about the business? Because Desi M. Slaughter, me, the person, I'm not trying to sell you anything.
Well, I don't think any of it works without your personal brand.
Yeah.
Like, in order for people to trust the product, they need to know the person that the product is coming from, especially when you're talking about digital products. You know, so if I'm you, I'm putting all of my energy into content that speaks to my expertise and knowledge about the digital products that I offer, and then the purchase of my digital products will be the byproduct, right? So, like, for example, this workshop, it's me saying, like, this workshop literally was me saying, hey, I'm about to build out my plan for the next 12 months, and I would like to invite some people to do it with me. And because I've been doing this for the last 7-8 years, and people have been bystanders of watching us build the brand and build other people's brands, seeing the behind the scenes, they've been to other workshops, my personal brand is solidified, right? Like, the trust is there that I have an idea of what I'm doing. And so the byproduct is people are going to probably come and be a part of the event, right? So I would put the energy into showing them through content why these products are products people should invest in, and then that content will naturally lead to people purchasing the products from you.
To know, like, what is it called, the trust?
No, like, trust factor. Yeah. Yep. That's it.
I think it's like I'm living in the know, like, trust right now. I'm not really trying to sell, but people that know that it's there can know, because, like, my services is branding press. That's separate than me, and I'm not really putting a lot of attention on it.
Right.
But like you said, it's already built out. There's a profile there, so if you go there, you can find things. But
Right.
I'm trying to focus on.
Well, so that's the part. Like, so you can have everything about your personal brand located on your social media, on your website, right? Like, we probably all have platforms that says everything that a person would need to know online. So if a person goes to our platform and they don't decide to buy, doesn't mean that they're not capable of finding the information, because the information is there. Because that's not what causes them to make that decision or to move to the next step. It's the nurturing process, or for us, it's the branding process. I believe if you brand properly, you never have to sell at anything. Right? So the long, consistent, daily process of putting out content that speaks to the challenges or the pain points of the person who you feel is your ideal avatar, the consistent activity will by default cause that person to purchase your stuff when they need it. That's what branding is for me. That's literally been the philosophy that I've used for the last 10 years. Like, that exact philosophy. Attack is at the top of my Instagram profile. Audience, trust, attention, content, consistency. It is the marketing formula for the last 100 years. Whether it's billboards, radio, TV, social media, it doesn't matter. You have to build an audience that trusts you. And once you get the audience to trust you, you figure out a way to get their attention, create content, and then push it out consistently. Like, it's super simple when you break it down like that, but for some reason when it comes to social media, like, the expectation changes a little bit. and we see everybody going viral, or we see like all of these people who look like overnight successes who've actually been doing it for 10, 15 years. It's just you're finding out about it at that moment. And we believe that we can just put out a piece of content that takes us to that level, and it's just usually not the reality of the situation. And we watched it, our team has literally watched this happen. Speaking of which, like we got Amber back there in the coat. Me and Amber have worked together for the last 6-7 years, and we talk about content and consistency and messaging. And then we did a whole podcast about the content. The content could be the greatest content ever, but if the people who are the content isn't meant for sees it, doesn't, if the people who the content is meant for doesn't see it, then the content doesn't perform the way we want it to perform. And then as soon as you find the right audience, all of a sudden the content explodes. And I use her as an example because she literally just went from 3,000 followers on TikTok to like 500,000 in like 300,000. Like she'll be at 500,000 in like a month. But the big point, I mean, okay, 300,000. But how many months? 3 months? 6 months? 3 months? 300,000 followers in 3 months. She's been saying this. She went from 3,000 followers to 300,000 on TikTok in less than 3 months. And my point is, she's been saying and talking about pretty much the same stuff for the last how many years?
No, it was just, I think, just getting in front of the right people. I think Facebook has always kind of been my comfort zone. So I've always been well on Facebook, and I didn't really venture outside of it. Instagram was way too aesthetic for me, so I never really did too much with that. But TikTok provided me an opportunity to just be authentic. And TikTok, because it's new and plays by different algorithm rules, allowed my content to get in front of people who otherwise wouldn't have seen it. So Facebook, I could only get so far with it, right? Because it's really initially started out with your friends and family, and you get connections. But TikTok, you get in front of strangers across the world. So now my platform is global, and I have people that can relate to the content on a global level, which I just wasn't provided with that opportunity. Like Rob was saying, it just wasn't in front of the right people. I've been saying the same thing for years. It just wasn't in front of the right people. And that's it. I always say, like, it only takes one person. You just need one person, the right person, to see it. That's it. So even if you say the same thing 10 times when you're creating content, you're doing your calendar, you can say the same, make the same piece of content multiple times throughout the month or the year, and just say it a little bit different, repurpose it for different platforms, because that messaging is important, and you need to get it in front of the right person. And somebody new is going to see it. Maybe you'll get new followers. You'll be on the For You page or Explore page, and you're going to get in front of new people. So you can use the same information and just kind of present it a little differently.
Yep. Good insight from like a real life example of what we always talk about. And remember, like, it's not like I use her as an example just to say your content doesn't suck. Like, if it's not, you're not getting the likes, you're not getting the engagement that you want, it probably has nothing to do with your content. It's just, it's not being seen by enough people or the right people. So don't get discouraged by the lack of activity. You know, like, stay positive.
Sometimes, like, no one liked my comments. I'm done.
Yeah,
My post today.
it's very easy to get into that, caught up into that mindset, and it's like you just have to stay with it. Like, I have posts that gets hundreds and hundreds of likes. I have posts that get no likes at all. You know, it's like I can care less though. Like, I can care less. Like, there's no emotional attachment to whether people like the content or not.
Because they do see it though.
And if they don't, like, still, like, you're talking about things that aren't in our control. So the reality is, because of our knowledge of how the algorithms work, I understand that Facebook is a platform built on algorithms that want to encourage community and family and togetherness. That is the premise of the algorithm. So when you talk about your kids or your grandma or a party or like relationships, that content is going to perform well. That family vacations, like that content is always going to perform well. And if you don't believe me, just try it. Post a picture of your grandbaby or your daughter or your family or a relationship. It is always going to perform well because it's going to be shown to more people. If you post about a sale you have going on in your business, it's not going to do great. In comparison, it's not going to do great because the algorithm isn't built on that premise. They don't want you selling on your personal page, right? So if you understand the framework that you're playing in, then you will remove the emotion. Does it mean don't post it? No. It just means understand that you're going to show, if a post that got 100 likes probably was shown to 10,000 or more people. The post that got 4 likes was probably only shown to 40 people. You know? And so that's the understanding that I have as a social media agency, because we dive deeper that the average person don't have, because you're not in social media. Like, that's not your expertise. TikTok is built on an interest graph. Like, it's the algorithm is built to give you content that you're interested in, right? So if you're on TikTok and your behavior is that you're interested in vegan foods or people that talk about vegan things, they're going to constantly show you vegan content because you've said, I'm interested in this. If you like fitness and you're constantly looking at fitness videos, it's going to show you fitness videos. It could be somebody in Jamaica. It could be somebody in Texas. As long as they're doing fitness things, it might show that to you. And then when people start commenting and start engaging, TikTok moves you up. Like, it shows you to more people. So it's like you put the content out, it like tested on like 50 people. If no one really bites, that content is not going to perform. If it shows it to 50 people and half of the 50 people got excited about it and liked and comment, or it's showing it to 5,000. And then if half of those people, it's about to show it to 500,000. And then you have situations like Amber, where now all of a sudden you have 15 million people watching the video, and your page, if you have 15 million people, it's a numbers game. You're going to gain hundreds of thousands of followers because it's being shown to that amount of people. And so it's just framework to kind of help you understand, you know, the different platforms and content that work versus content that doesn't.
What's your thoughts on sharing, because I've noticed when I've shared stuff on TikTok to Instagram, it doesn't perform as well.
It is a TikTok symbol on there?
Is that?
Is a TikTok logo? Yeah, it's not going to perform.
Okay.
Yeah, the algorithm is going to shut that down.
Gotcha.
I mean, there are apps that will take the TikTok logo off, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think one is called SnapTik or Amber. You know that app? The app? Yeah, so you get screen record. There is an app. Huh? If you Google search or app search, there's a couple platforms that will take the TikTok logo off, and it's free. And people talk about them all the time, but I can't think of it off the top. I want to say it's like SnapTik or SnapTok or something like that.
It's something.io.
Okay. So yeah, so just search that up. Sorry, I don't know it off the top of my head. Yes.
What is the metric on Instagram? I'm not sure if this is in my mind, but like reach, engagement, followers. Like, I've been trying to, trying to figure that out, and so I've been kind of focused on my Instagram, and my reach is increasing. But what does that mean? Because like, I'm not getting a lot of followers. Not that I'm just wondering, like, what is this? I know it's getting in front of more people, but how is it converting to the value for me?
Well, that's based on your data. Like, the information that you're reading should give you the answer. So if we're talking about what does reach mean, that's the amount of accounts that your post is getting in front of.
One time, not
Yes.
impressions. I get that.
Yes.
And then,
So to answer your question, you want as much reach as possible. Reach is key. Reach is important, because Instagram for a while was it was being said that Instagram was limiting your reach for a lot of posts prior to Reels. And then Reels came out because I personally don't believe Instagram could control the reach of the posts. So they built Reels on the same premise as TikTok is built on an interest premise instead of people in the algorithm that they built the feed on. And so if you've noticed, if you put out Reels, it gives you a bigger opportunity for reach for people outside of your followers. You know, and that's what we all want to do. Like, we don't want to talk to the same people over and over again. We want to reach new people if possible. And Reels and ads or some type of cross promotion with other accounts is really the only way that you have an opportunity to do that right now. I think you've been at it for a while. Yeah, go ahead.
This may be repetitive because you just said ads.
Yeah.
So do you advise to pay money to post? Because I realize that it increases by 10 when I do pay some cash.
Yeah, so for clients, it's built into all our packages. Like if you hire us, we're going to do some ads because it's kind of like, I know for a fact I can run ads and I can get your information out to more people. I wouldn't say start with a lot of money. If you don't really know what you're doing, you should start with a minimal amount. So $50.
So I'm already.
Well, I'm about to say, though, you wouldn't have to worry about it.
Okay.
But I would start with like $100 a month, like something like that. Measure the success that I'm having, run different types of ads. There's a variety of ads you can run. You got link click ads, you got messenger ads, you got boosted posts. And so you can experiment because all different industries, when I say different industries, if you're in hospitality, if you're in car sales, if you're in real estate, every industry is categorized on Facebook and Instagram. So some industries some ads will work better depending on the industry that you're in, which is really interesting. And then depending on how you craft the ad. So you have your header, you have your description of the product or the service or whatever it is that you're trying to market. You have the actual image, you have the graphic that's in the image, if it has writing or copy on it. Like all these little things affect the success of the ad, believe it or not. We will A/B test an ad. When I say A/B test, that just means run very similar ads at the same time and then just switch one little thing. And we'll have two ads that if I didn't tell you what we switched, you wouldn't even know what we switched. And one will triple or quadruple in performance what the other one did, just because of one little tweak. It could be the headline, it could be the post was in color and then we switched it in black and white and all of a sudden it went crazy. Like all the stuff matters, so you have to really collect data and use the data to kind of make the decision. Also, you want to pay attention if you're thinking about running ads, it makes sense to do organic content and then take the organic content that performed well and then run that as an ad. So you don't want to start an ad from scratch. You have no information. You don't know if it's going to work or if it's not. If you have a post that's doing well and you haven't put any money behind it, that's the ad to start with. Because it performed with no money, so you know it'll perform if you actually put money behind it.
So they don't be lying to us when they say that.
No, Facebook, that's a great, Facebook do not lie. When they tell you this ad is performing well, you should boost it, listen to them. They want, it's not like you're, I know. It's not like you're like sales commercials where they're trying to trick you into doing something that's not true. Facebook wants you to keep spending money on ads. They're not going to tell you wrong, because if they do, you're not going to spend money anymore. Right? So they say this post is performing 80% better than the rest of your posts. It's the truth. It's the facts. And all you have to do is go into your analytics. Everybody who has a business page has analytics that you can go and you can look into. As a matter of fact, you can go and look at ad performance on any brand page that exists on Facebook. You can see all of the numbers from any brand. You can see what post works, what type of ads work, what type of copy work, what type of headlines work. Like you can, all that information is public and accessible for any company. It could be Target. You can go to Target or Chevrolet's Facebook page and look at the ads that they've run and look at all the information that they included in those ads. And you can literally steal the formula and use it for yourself if you're in that industry. Now, will you guys do that? Probably not. But I just want you to, like, you should consider that because you're in branding and marketing. If you go to a Facebook page that you want to create content, you want to use as a blueprint for creating content and running ads, you can go to their ad center and you can see all the ads that they've ran, what the ads look like, how they perform, like all that information is public knowledge on Facebook. Yes.
This is totally not there, but I have to say it before we go. When you say that you're doing creator camps, are you going to be doing like more 30 days challenges?
No, so Creator Camp is this. This is a very light version of what Creator Camp will evolve to. Okay. This is a starting point. When in a perfect scenario, we're in an Airbnb with a fireplace, dim lighting, cool music, and we're all around talking about things that's related to building your brand. It could be photography, it could be videography, it could be content strategy, etc. Those are creator camps. They'll happen probably once a month or once every other month. Moving forward, we'll collab with a lot of experts and we'll do those. Very intimate like this. The Yellow Room Challenge will happen most likely in June. We'll start putting information about that out probably April, May, and inviting people to be a part of that. The Yellow Room Challenge is basically 30 days of challenges that me and my team create based on trends happening in the social media sphere at that moment. And the goal of it is to push you out of your comfort zone and get you to try things that you wouldn't typically try. Okay. So every day there's a separate challenge. We've been doing it for 2 years now. This will be our 3rd year, and it always goes extremely well. It'll be like $99 to sign up. You go into a group. Everybody in the group is doing the same thing, so we vibe, we connect, we bounce ideas off each other. Everybody encourages one another, and usually it goes really good for the first, for the first 2 weeks, like it's like, and then after that, they started kind of falling off a little bit. So I'm looking forward to getting to a point to where everybody like pushes all the way through and gets all the way to the end. But that's going to be like, on average, we usually have about 50, 60 people. The first one we had like 80, 90. Then yeah, we'll be getting that information out very soon. So that's actually a good segue into kind of like the final part. So if you have events and dates that you know for sure you want to incorporate into your process, especially if there are events that you plan to invite people out to, I try to consciously think about those things because I want, like, everything that I do is based on momentum. So if I know the Yellow Room is coming, I'll start talking about the importance of content and getting outside of your comfort zone probably 2 months before that. And I'll start encouraging those conversations, which will create inboxes and people asking questions. I want to start bringing those people in. Also, what happens is when you create content that people find interesting or they want other people to know, they share it. And when they share that content, it brings new people into your sphere of influence. So if I recognize a new person commenting that isn't a friend, or somebody's on someone else's page that's not connected to me, that's liking and being involved in the conversation, I'm going to add that person. Like, I'm adding all the people that's engaging in content that originated from me, right? Facebook is interesting because it's the only platform that really allows you to do that. So if you go into my friends list right now, and it's a new page, like my page got hacked I guess you're disabled. I don't necessarily think it was, yeah, Facebook disabled it. They said it was suspicious activity. I don't know what type of suspicious activity I could possibly do, but anyway, so I started a new page like maybe 2020, actually, no, 2019. So this page has 4,000 people, and it was a nightmare. Like when I lost my other page, it was like, this was literally the centerpiece of my operation, and I lost it, right? It was the biggest blessing in disguise ever. Like it's crazy how something that seems so horrible can be flipped into like a major moment. So this new, yeah, exactly. So this new page, I handpicked and crafted the entire audience because now my first page was created in 2008. Now I understand the algorithm, right? And I understand that the algorithm is going to be based on A, my friends list, B, my behavior on social, and as I bring people in, the people that I add are going to be the basis for the friends that they suggest to me, right? So I want real estate agents. I want mortgage loan officers. Like these are the clientele and the avatars that I'm going after, or that I was going after when I was really trying to grow my audience. So if you look at my friends list, it's probably 35–40% real estate agents, probably 30% loan officers, and then business owners and professionals. And if I go, like you can do it so fast where you can click on somebody, you can look at their little bio real quick. If it says broker owner, real estate agent, anything along those lines, adding you as a friend. And it's so bad now, like I can look at your profile pic and know if you're a real estate agent. Like I don't even need to see no more. Like all of you guys look the same. like real talk. Like it literally is like sixth sense. I know who you are. Yes.
And since you touched on that about the profile picture, I wanted to know if you could give some insight on personal styling with branding.
Mm-hmm.
Is it important to tailor your style for your avatar, what they would want to see and what they can connect to, or what makes you feel good about yourself and what makes you comfortable?
What makes you comfortable? 100%. Like it's not even close, because
Especially
you want to. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
No,
go
go ahead.
right? Like he literally wears like a t-shirt and jeans every day.
Yeah.
He's killing it.
It's and the reason, the psychology behind it is you want to attract the person who is right for you. So if I come in and I'm wearing like a 3-piece suit and the tight pants and the dress shoes, not saying that I wouldn't do that, but that's probably not the client I want, because that person is probably going to be over the top, like needy and like very like it's just not my ideal customer, right? So I don't want to attract that. I want to attract the casual, go with the flow, laid back client who allows us to do our creative work and trust us to deliver for them. So I think whoever you are authentically should be what you put out there, and that's the type of client you're going to attract back to you. Yeah.
Thank you.
But everybody does the opposite, and it's super funny when they it's hilarious when we try to get them to not do that, and it's like, yeah.
What about the idea of creating yourself as an avatar? Like not actually being the upfront person, but creating an avatar.
It's a strategy. It's just you have to remember. Let's just say you do that, and let's just say your brand blows up.
Okay.
Your brand is based on this fake avatar that you created. So now you just have to manage that. Because if you ever decide you want to switch to yourself, it's probably not going to work, because you just built up. It's like that's the other thing that's important to think about. Like, Amber, you can probably speak to this. I'm sorry I keep putting you on the spot, but Amber's, when you go follow her, you'll see her content is basically driven on her personal story, which some of her personal story isn't about her. Like it's about a lot of things around her. And if you had to choose how you blew up, would you pick a different way, or would you be comfortable with how you blew up? I'm just asking out of my own curiosity.
So I actually blew up on TikTok before, and it was not in a way that
That's a good example,
I
actually.
just stitched a video. It was kind of funny. But then it got like 1 million views very fast, and I was like, oh, that's not what I want to be known for. That's not why I want people to follow me. So I just kind of like fell back for a little bit and stopped creating content, and then just kind of got to like really boring content because I didn't know what to do, but I didn't want to attract any more attention. And then when I went viral again, it wasn't, that particular video wasn't intentional, but the strategy behind it was. And so I knew what I was doing with the direction I was going with the content. And because of that, I was able to target the exact audience that I've been trying to speak to, younger women my entire life, just like disadvantaged women, women who've had to overcome adversity, like women who want to be something, who want to, who the underdog, so to speak. So that was the exact audience that I wanted to reach, and now that is the audience, like that is my demographic, which is perfect for me.
So my question is though, did you imagine that the responsibility that you've always wanted would look the way it looks? So like, are you happy about it? Is I guess what I'm trying to say. Because I think a lot of times, like, we have the idea, like, a lot of people will say, I want to be an influencer. I want to be a TikTok influencer or a social media influencer, right? But you can't really imagine the negative comments, the pushback, the commentary between the people in your audience, like all the extra stuff that comes with that type of popularity. And so if you blow up on something that's not necessarily something that you want to constantly be involved in, then like you put yourself in a spot, and now it's like, what do I do now? So.
To his question, like if he created an avatar of this like high luxurious wanting person, like that's what he's going after, and then he can't.
No, I think he was. Well, I might actually confuse what you were asking me. Is that what you were talking about?
No.
Okay, yeah, he was talking about his, yeah, he was talking about himself.
Avatar, I'm like.
Yeah, so he's talking about his personal brand. What if he created a front for his personal brand that's not actually him? And so I'm saying if he does that, then you got to think about what that looks like if it actually blows up and how you have to manage that situation. Yeah. Yeah, you're talking about the client avatar, and no, he's talking about his brand.
So I have a question for you.
I was about to say, I don't know if you, did you have a answer or something you were going to say about what I was talking about? Okay.
So my question is that, so you're in real estate also, correct? So she is creating content to reach this, like a heartfelt, people or group of avatars per se, but is that content, and you creating that content that's from a real, like social level, is it creating more sales for you in real estate?
Yeah, so here's the thing. So I do a lot of things. I do real estate, but I do social media. Like social media is my thing that I've always done and will always do. Real estate just happened over the pandemic because I was like, why not? It made sense. And then I officiate. I do a lot of different things.
Are you monetizing off?
So yeah, so my point is that I do a number of different things, and so for me, that's always been my struggle as well. Everyone says niche down, niche down, niche down. You gotta find your niche. And I'm like, why do 50 different things? How am I gonna niche it down? My sweet spot is the fact that people like me and they relate to me. So they want me to marry them, help them buy a house, manage their social media. Like literally, they want to hire me for everything because they just want to be in proximity. They want to talk to me. They want to feel like they're in with me for whatever reason. So I have gotten to I've got real estate clients, I've got social media clients, I've got people asking to fly me out to different states to officiate their weddings, which I haven't done because I'm like, that's not really
I'm
good.
just saying, that's right.
But yeah,
That's
but
why I'm asking, like, how do you manage those kind
because
of?
back to what Rob was saying earlier, is like ultimately, like people have to like you. If you're using your personal brand, and especially as a realtor, that's all it is, relationship building. People have to like you. So it makes it, if you're that's why it's hard if you're gonna put up like a false persona. You don't want to do that because then it's hard to keep that up. Not only in real life when you're managing these clients, but also when you're creating content, it's a lot harder to create content around something fake versus this is just what I am, what who I am, what I'm going through, how I'm feeling today, what have you. But ultimately, if you make people like you and you're just authentic, people can see through. Eventually, they're gonna see authentic and people just genuinely like you, they're going to want to do business with you. They're going to want you to help them buy a house, even if you're less experienced than someone else that they feel like is selling them. If they feel like somebody just like, I really want this client, and they feel like they're a number or a dollar sign to them, they're not going to want to do business with them. But they feel like they're your friend or your family and that you really have their best interest at heart, they're going to pick you to do business with for sure.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so to just recap, because I know we're getting close to time here. To recap, number one is understanding who your ideal client is. Like, that is the absolute first step. The second is understanding what you want to be known for. You got to understand what you want to be known for before you can present that to anybody. After you have those two things figured out, you want to figure out what are your revenue centers. What is the thing that you want to drive the money for you, and where is your attention going to go? That could be one thing, that could be three things, that could be five things. Highly recommend you don't get wider than three things, or at least use that as a starting point. After you've figured those things out, then you want to think about your pain points, the value, the problems that you're solving for your ideal client and how you're solving them. After you've thought about that, now you want to think about 12 of the most relevant challenges, questions, problems that your ideal client is having. You could list 25, you can list 50, but you want to pick the top 12. And you want to pick the 12 that you can speak to with some sort of expertise, some sort of level of ease and comfortability in explaining and answering those questions. Then you want to take those questions one by one, and you want to go to Google, and you want to see what are other questions like this one that individuals are asking. And you want to get at least 4 of those. Now, you can get 30 of those. Don't got to just be 4. I'm giving you 4 because I do 4, and 4 gives me flexibility because sometimes I just get bright ideas and I want to come up with random things. But you could get 30, which would give you literally a post or a piece of content for every single day if you wanted to get that technical with it. But I suggest you do at least 4. That will give you a topic or a theme for each week. And then you want to figure out what your best communication style is. Are you going to go heavy on photos? You're going to go heavy on video? I highly recommend using Reels if you're on Facebook and Instagram. Your Facebook business page is super hot right now. Your Facebook business page, the organic activity happening on Facebook business pages right now is like it was when it first started. And don't ask me why. It just started happening in the last 6 months or so. So start posting on your Facebook business page if you haven't been, because you'll get more traction than you're used to. After you put a little bit of content on it, you want to go and do an invite all from your personal Facebook page. Don't do it first. Add some content first, then do an invite all to your business page, and watch your activity and your engagement go even higher. Use your Reels on both pages. If you're a real estate agent, you now have the option, or if you're in a professional services industry, you now have the option to turn your personal page into a creator page or a professional page. If you have that option, I recommend you use it because you can monetize those pages now. So if you're going to put time and energy into a Facebook page, you might as well make money from it. I will warn you though, it's very possible that Facebook flipped the script on us in the next several months and start minimizing the reach on the creator pages again, right? And so, that's something to think about. But at this moment in time, activity on the creator pages and on the business pages, because they want everybody to try to be a creator, is very high. So they're pushing that. Yeah, you can.
My business page on Instagram, I changed it to creator because I wanted certain music.
Yep. Yes.
Am I could change it now on my Facebook to creator, or does it stay?
Yeah, you gotta change the category, but it doesn't work. You can do that on Facebook. Yes, but it doesn't. The creator business on Facebook, you can go from personal page to creator page on Facebook. But if you're already a business, they're not gonna let you turn it into a creator page. Yes.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. They like grandfather you in or something. And then lastly, you want to diversify the content. Right? So you don't want to have a page that's literally like the same thing over and over and over again. You want to mix it up by either applying this formula with the entertainment, inspiration, or education, or whatever formula you like, but you want to just mix it up and diversify the formula based on your particular brand, the way you feel you want your page aesthetically. The last thing I'll mention is consistency for posting and creating content is like level 1. Level 2 is about colorways and like filters. That consistency helps you as well. That goes into presentation, right? So if you want to distinguish yourself more, you might want to start thinking about consistently using the same filters, consistently using the same brand colors. Things like that will help you to stand out, in a sea of people doing the exact same things. So like for my marketing and branding page, I use yellow accents all the time. And I want people to see the yellow. And when they think about branding and they see yellow, I want my name to pop up into their mind. Like that's kind of the long-term play of that, right? So that's another layer of branding and just becoming more distinguished amongst your industry. Does anybody have any final questions for me before we kind of wrap this up? Great. Well, on behalf of my team, I want to thank you guys for being a part of the first Creator Camp. Hopefully you found it beneficial and valuable. Hopefully you will spread the word and let people know if you found value in it. If you're really feeling good, you might go to Robert Courtney and Associates and leave a review about the Creator Camp, because I never talk about reviews, but whenever you're starting something from scratch, reviews mean so much. So I would highly appreciate that. And I hope to have you guys back at the next one. We will be sending, for the people that come to the first Creator Camp, we will be sending you guys discounts for upcoming Creator Camps, right? So
Are they going to consistently take your time?
probably, but we haven't gotten to that point yet. But I would love to have it on a consistent day and time each month. Yes, can we get a group picture before you guys dip out, if you don't mind, if you're open to that? I would greatly appreciate it.
Or there, but I just want to watch this camera.
Okay.
Can I just stand
It's good.
here?
Yeah, it's good.